We were supposed to hear from Jan Foreman today. Unfortunately, he's an international human rights lawyer, and he's been called away because one of his clients has been arrested, so he had to go to help one of his clients. So he's hoping to return before the end of the session, certainly hopefully before the end of the day, but we will then go straight to Mr. Uwe Treichmann. And I'm sorry, Mr. Thierry Deramay, yes, sorry, my bad. Mr. Thierry Deramay, who's coming to us from Amnesty International. He'll be speaking in French.
Ce n'est qu'avec beaucoup d'humilité et avec un grand respect pour les témoignages qui viennent d'être donnés que je peux parler au nom d'Amnesty ici, au nom d'Amnesty International. Mais c'est aussi avec la détermination et la force, me semble-t-il, que commandent ces témoignages. Merci pour votre invitation, merci pour l'organisation de ce congrès. Comme vous le savez, Amnesty International a sorti le 5 décembre 2024 son rapport intitulé « Rapport génocide ». Dans l'histoire de notre mouvement, qui a plus de 60 ans maintenant, ce rapport fait date et c'est une première. C'est la première fois que nous sortions un rapport aussi étoffé, avec des résultats, avec une enquête aussi approfondie, un travail colossal qui était mené par des enquêtes sur le terrain entre octobre 2023 et juillet 2024, mais qui s'est poursuivi par la suite, qui a collecté des centaines de témoignages, des milliers de photos, des milliers de vidéos, des images satellites, qui a évidemment utilisé toutes les informations disponibles des organisations internationales, analyser également les communiqués de presse et les déclarations officielles de l'État d'Israël et de ses représentants. L'ensemble des informations contenues dans ce rapport ont été, selon une méthodologie qui nous est propre, recoupées à de multiples reprises, au moins 3 fois. Tout ça a été vérifié. Et ça nous a permis de décrire de manière claire et déterminée, lors de la publication de ce rapport, oui, Israël a commis, continue à commettre un génocide à Gaza, au terme de la Convention des Nations Unies de 1948. Le point important dans ces communications, c'est l'intention génocidaire. Pour nous, c'est une étape extrêmement importante à franchir. L'intention génocidaire veut dire qu'en fait, il n'y a plus en fait d'une série d'actes isolés où les crimes, les bombardements, les destructions d'édifices religieux, d'écoles, etc. sont présentés comme des problèmes collatéraux. Mais très clairement, nous montrons par la répétition, de manière étayée, qu'il y a bien là derrière une intention génocidaire. Alors une fois qu'on parle d'intention, ça nous amène, nous semble-t-il, à reconsidérer et à remettre en perspective nos rapports précédents. Vous saviez que peut-être qu'en 2022 déjà, en février 2022, nous avons sorti un gros rapport sur l'apartheid qui faisait suite à 5 années d'investigation sur le terrain. En juillet 2024, nous avons également sorti un rapport sur les conditions de détention dans les prisons israéliennes. Nous focalisons surtout sur les conditions particulières de ces détentions administratives, dénonçant cette loi mise en application de manière, comme vous le savez, de manière large pour la détention des prisonniers, des combattants illégaux. Loi dont nous pensons d'ailleurs qu'elle contribue à atténuer la distinction conceptuelle entre un prisonnier et un otage. On ne sait plus très bien qui est quoi sous cette loi. À partir du moment où on parle d'intention génocidaire, il nous apparaît que la politique d'apartheid menée depuis des décennies maintenant, il nous apparaît également que la politique d'incarcération massive doivent être, il faut poser la question, doivent être interprétées comme répondant d'une visée unique et globale. Par rapport à ça, l'action d'Amnesty se déploie de différentes manières. Amnesty, c'est d'abord une action de plaidoyer auprès des autorités ici en Europe. Alors ce plaidoyer il se développe surtout sur des discussions de principe, non au génocide, non à l'apartheid, non à l'occupation illégale du territoire. Et comme je le disais un instant, nous sommes amenés dans notre campagne actuelle à essayer de regrouper ces différentes thématiques qui nous semblent devoir être rassemblées dans une dénonciation d'une visée commune qui est bien celle du génocide. À côté de cette action de plaidoyer, nous avons aussi une action de sensibilisation publique, et c'est là que je vais vous parler un tout petit peu plus. Notre job, mis à part le contact avec les politiques, c'est dans les sociétés européennes en particulier, puisque c'est en Europe, d'essayer de sensibiliser la population par rapport à ce qui se passe, par rapport à cette tragédie. Alors tout de suite, on va commencer en faisant par un mode d'excuses par rapport à la lenteur à laquelle nous procédons. C'est difficile, vu la tragédie, vu l'accélération de l'histoire, on aimerait bien que les mentalités évoluent évidemment plus vite. On est loin du compte. Néanmoins, il nous semble, et c'est peut-être un petit message d'espoir que vous avez qui fait écho à ce qui était dit ce matin, que la diffusion de ce qui se passe en Palestine, dans les sociétés européennes en tout cas, est en train de progresser. À titre personnel, je peux vous dire que moins souvent qu'avant, je me fais agresser ou remettre à ma place quand, dans la société autochtone bruxelloise ou par Nicaragua, je mets en cause la politique d'Israël. On voit qu'il y a une place qui est en train de faire son chemin. Alors c'est lent, c'est modeste, mais on pense que c'est notre voie d'action et c'est un point qui nous semble devoir être positif. Nous pensons qu'il y a une action militante qui doit être poursuivie. En Belgique, on a la chance d'avoir une communauté palestinienne qui est extrêmement importante, qui est très dynamique. La question, c'est aussi pour nous de faire sortir le débat du cénacle habituel et des entre-soi des militants que nous sommes et d'amener ça dans le salon d'un peu tout le monde. Par rapport à ça, nous pensons que la société civile évolue. C'est vrai, comme on le disait ce matin aussi, que le monde politique est un peu en décalage. Je ne sais pas si vous l'avez remarqué, c'était amusant comme contraste. Il y a quelques mois, la même semaine, Olaf Scholz a fait une déclaration au Bundestag disant que l'Allemagne, dont vous savez que c'est un gros fournisseur d'armes à Israël, allait amplifier, augmenter ses livraisons d'armes à Israël. Et en même temps, sortait dans la presse un sondage d'opinion disant que, je crois, à peu près 68% de la population allemande était désireuse d'une diminution du soutien militaire à Israël. Et donc ce gap, cette espèce de décalage qu'il existe entre l'évolution de l'opinion publique et celle de nos dirigeants est un phénomène bien réel. On veut l'interpréter comme une lenteur d'adaptation de nos sociétés démocratiques. Et donc peut-être y voir malgré tout une source d'optimisme. L'autre source d'optimisme qu'on peut peut-être voir, et je dis ça pour essayer malgré tout de mettre en avant ce qui peut l'être, c'est que notre job chez l'Amnesty International, on se base sur le droit international, c'est mettre en avant les droits humains, le droit humanitaire international. Et c'est vrai que dans le contexte international, on peut avoir le sentiment que ces droits humains, humanitaires, sont de plus en plus questionnés, de plus en plus précarisés. De manière très ouverte parfois. Hein. On voit les sanctions qui ont été prises par l'administration américaine contre le procureur de la Cour pénale internationale. Donc tout ça est inquiétant. En parallèle, force est quand même de constater que maintenant, plus que jamais, on voit le droit international prendre part au débat. On a remarqué en quelques mois un arrêt de la Cour pénale internationale, la mise à disposition des mandats délivrés contre Netanyahou, un arrêt de la Cour de justice internationale concernant l'illégalité d'occupation du territoire, l'enquête lancée par l'Afrique du Sud. Toutes ces procédures nous semblent marquer en fait une dynamique qui est quand même bien présente au niveau juridique. Donc par rapport à Amnesty, notre job c'est de faire avancer ça, de faire avancer ces demandes. Alors ces demandes, elles sont en fait partagées par plus de 10 millions de membres dans le monde. En ce sens, Amnesty se tient nous sommes dit précisément aux côtés des demandes à côté de la population palestinienne, pas parce que c'est la Palestine, pas parce que c'est Israël, pas parce que c'est eux, pas parce que c'est nous, parce que nous avons la conviction, le sentiment qu'il y a des principes universels qui doivent être défendus et que leur application doit être défendue de manière tout à fait impartiale. Je vous remercie.
So, thank you very much, Terry Goodman. And our next speaker is Mr. And from the International Physicians for the Prevention of Nuclear War.
Hello all, to all. It's a pleasure for me to speak here. As it was already mentioned, I'm a member of the International Medical Peace Organization, IPPNW, the International Physicians for Prevention of Nuclear War. This organization was founded in 1980 during the Cold War, and in 1985 this organization was awarded the Nobel Prize even. I hope that Amnesty or the Palestinians will win the Nobel Prize as well, and there's already a campaign for Dr. Abu Safia to nominate him for the Nobel Prize, and we should support that. In Germany, we will have a new government next week. In its governmental program, this government has already declared to support that the support for Israel is a matter of national interest of Germany, and that's really a real problem for all the solidarity work in Germany, because last year they already passed a law against anti-Semitism, and everything, every activity for Palestine is very often called that is anti-Semitic, and it's forbidden, and we have to fight against that. And even during the election night, the future Chancellor Friedrich Merz already stated that he wanted to invite Netanyahu to Germany without arresting him. We cannot tolerate that. This government is declaring the breach of international law even before it begins to govern. So that will be a hard conflict in the future in Germany. In this situation, we as doctors think that it's very important to have a voice of doctors and healthcare workers, especially as the healthcare system is almost completely destroyed in Gaza, and many healthcare workers are killed or are in detention. Therefore, the German doctors organization IPPNW has released a statement 2 weeks ago where it states, according to the UN figures, in the 18 months since the beginning of the Israeli offensive in the Gaza Strip, at least 1,060 healthcare workers have been killed. The Physicians for Human Rights Israel report that almost 150 medical staff workers are in Israeli custody. 3 doctors and 1 paramedic have died in custody. Dr. Adnan al-Bursh, Dr. Iyad al-Rantizi, Dr. Siad al-Dalu, and Hamdan Abu Anaba. I myself am active in the Cologne regional group. Last year, together with the Palestine community, and I have to mention Dr. Khaled Hamad, who also participated and participates, we succeeded in setting up a so-called Palestine coordination group in Cologne. Palestinian and various German political groups work together in this coordination. This cooperation between Palestinian and German groups is extremely important to get out of this inner circle of Palestine discussions. Last year, we were able to jointly organize a large human chain across the bridges over the Rhine in Cologne, and subsequently we organized many events and demonstrations. one important manifestation was that for the release of Palestinian prisoners on 8th February this year. At this manifestation, we intensified the campaign for the release of Dr. Hussam Abu Safia. We collected many signatures for his release and for the release of his co-workers. We also strengthened an online campaign with these demands, and now over 2,500 people have signed these demand for the release of Dr. Hussam Abu Safia. This online petition provides an opportunity to reach all signatures, and therefore I will do an update of this campaign next week with at least some of the important results of this conference. So that's a very practical way of spreading the results of this conference. In the current situation, when Israel intensified its bombing and withholding of food and humanitarian aid, we are continuously trying to strengthen the voice of the medical community. Most recently, we sent a letter signed by over 50 medical professionals to the new members of the parliament in our region, calling them to work for the immediate resumption and expansion of humanitarian deliveries of food and medicine, for the immediate protection of health care workers and medical facilities in the Gaza Strip, in compliance with the UN Resolution 2286 on the protection of medical personnel and facilities in armed conflicts and wars. Attacks on paramedics, doctors and aid workers must be condemned and prosecuted internationally. For an international investigation by independent experts into the attacks on medical personnel and structures in the Gaza Strip. For the immediate and unconditional release of all detained medical personnel as long as there are no allegations subsequently by the rule of law. Germany must not participate in the commission of war crimes in the situation by directly supplying weapons or financing such actions. Next weekend, the National Congress of IPPNW will take place in Berlin. There we will discuss how we can expand these activities, where the Cologne Group is especially active in the medical organization, and how to spread it on the national levels. I think that's very important. The central demands will be immediate and permanent ceasefire, return to the situation which was in January when there was a ceasefire, and go forward to the continuous ceasefire in Gaza. And stop all deliveries and weapons, what I already mentioned, continue the funding of UNRWA, and release of the detained Palestinians. And to make more pressure on Israel, stop any trade benefits which has Israel in relation with the European Union. And if we stop these benefits, these economic benefits, we can make pressure. That's our way how we will fight for permanent ceasefire in Israel. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm from Berlin, and I want to thank for the invitation to this very important and for me new conference. I'm a member in the leadership of the union in Berlin, and but today I will speak for the European Committee, the liaison committee against war and against social war. It was formed just a few weeks after an European conference which was held up immediately when the war in Ukraine started. And the organization and comrades from 15 countries, European countries, have joined this conference and set up this committee. And so we started with the demands immediately ceasefire against the war in Ukraine between Russia and Ukraine. But after the start of the war from Israel against Palestine, we adopted following demands: immediately end of the bombing of Gaza, end of the military operation against Gaza, lift the blockade against Gaza. That means we integrated this question. For us, it is one question, and I think it is very important to understand that. We, of course, made a lot of initiatives, and I think it is very important that there was a very international protest on an international level. I just only want to remember the initiative of 7 Dagdalins from Germany and Iran, Oman, United States. 565 parliamentarians from 28 countries launched an appeal for a ceasefire in Palestine. And even in the German Bundestag, the new party BSW, Bündnis Sarah Wagenknecht, was the only political organization who called the government to stop the arms delivery to Israel. And I think this is very important, that there are initiatives against your own government, for they are organizing, they are helping Israel to make this cruel genocide. On the other side, we, and Uwe Frischmann already told you, it's very important they make laws against the fight. Everybody who criticize the Israeli government, the genocide against Palestine, that everybody is called anti-Semitism, and they make laws about this question. And in this situation also, the BSW was the only party who stood up and said, no, we are against this. We are standing on the side of Palestine. Our conference, and we made a conference last November, Dr. Khaled Hamad was present, and it was very important he informed us about the real situation, and we made the final resolution where we wrote that our governments are participating in the destruction of Palestinian people by delivering weapons to Israel. And we say no to such policy of our government. And that means that that's the way how we fight against the genocide of the Palestinian people. Stop the expansion of Israel war and destruction to Lebanon and Syria, in Palestine and in Ukraine. Immediately ceasefire. Stop the arms delivery. As Uwe Frischmann already told you, it's very important to see, and I think it will be a great conflict, that the new government, he invited Netanyahu to Germany, and of course he said Netanyahu could come and leave Germany unhindered. And this is a great problem, and he said we will prevent this Prime Minister to be arrested by the International Criminal Court. So we have to fight against the policy of our government. I don't want to put in, it is very important that in Germany there is also an important resistance and a lot of action, and it is difficult. But for example, 2 days ago, on the 1st of May, we made demonstration like unionists do it always, and we demonstrated for these demands which we have already. And we collected signatures for Abu Safia, and we had a lot of discussion about the question. Well, there's one central problem in Germany, that the trade union leadership submitting the Staatsräson, that means which is imposed by the government that everybody has to accept. And there were a lot of people who said no to this policy. That's why I think it is very important to see that in all countries which joined our liaison committee, as far as I know, from Norway I know it, of course, where they go, but even in Serbia, they are organizing, and we have conferences in both countries. They organize the campaign against genocide, and the policy with their government are organizing, and that's a way, and that's why I think it is very important that we even organize a campaign for Abu Safia, and we have to fight so long till let us free all the prisoners in Palestine. That means we all together have to fight that our government, that the world says no to this genocide on Israel. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Thanks to the European Alliance in Defense of Palestinian detainees for putting up this event and bringing us together in solidarity with the Palestinian people. And I want to welcome Hanneke Gelderblom to speak. I don't know if she's around. Yes. So, Hanneke, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Wat zeg je? Staat er niet goed?
Kunt u in het Engels spreken?
I have to change it to English. Is that correct? Good. I'll do. Yes. Good. So I'm very happy to be here, to be invited. A thank to Joseph Attawil, the Palestinian representative in our country, who helaas can't be here because he has a broken rib. He just called me. He is in an awful lot of pain, but well, he's very interested in what's happening here, and I promised him to tell what is happening here. So thanks to Attawil. And to Mr. Galish, who invited me here and introduced me here. A question, who am I? Yeah? Well, I'm about 40 years now involved in the Israeli-Palestinian question, problem, peace movement, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. Who am I? Well, in my country, I'm known as one of the few still living survivors of what happened 80 years ago. So you do understand that I'm Jewish. And my voice is sometimes a different Jewish voice. Thank you, but wait a moment, I'm not sure that you will agree with what I'm telling now. What I have been trying to do is make a clear understanding. If we talk about Israel, we have to make a difference. There is the country, there is the government, Netanyahu, and I despise Netanyahu because what he is doing with the two scoundrels, I can't call them different, Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, ultra-right, they are destroying the democracy in Israel. And thank goodness there are a lot of people who say we don't want that anymore. So next week there is a huge demonstration again on Saturday of all the people who want peace, who want to talk. What I'm wearing here is not by chance. This is what I got from my Palestinian Women of the Sun, the Palestinian peace movement. They were in our country. I have a nice picture here, because as you know, I've read, we are Women in Favor of Peace of The Hague. Do you recognize this picture? Yes. It's the Peace Palace. They were in my country. This is a picture of the two women, the Palestinian and the Jewish one, the mayor of The Hague, and the two of us. My friend is sitting there making pictures, and me. This picture, what we want as Women in Favor of Peace of The Hague, is a peace conference in the Peace Palace. We want that all the talks about ceasefire and the awful things that happen in the prison, and you are talking about it here today, but there's so much more that we have to talk about together. Palestinians and Jews, we have to talk together. That's why I'm here. I'm happy that I'm invited, but I know, and you know as well, how difficult it is to get together and have a real talk. But I assure you, it is possible, and our friends over there, the Israeli and the Palestinian, they ask us, please continue the talk, also here, make it possible for us to show that what we are doing, that we are talking. What are we doing next week in The Hague? We have a press center, it's called Nieuwspoort, and where we are from early in the morning, we are relying what they are telling there, and they know it. And our example is being followed by other countries as well. Please listen to what those peace movement people are telling us. And what they are telling is we have to start talking together. And what I hear here is a lot about the horrible situation of what is happening to the Palestinian prisoners. And I totally agree with you, it's horrible. But if we continue only talking about a horrible situation, peace is not getting near to us. And what we need is to start talking together about the possibilities of peace, and those possibilities do exist, but we need each other to talk about peace. What it means talking about peace. The most important lesson that I learned is you have to start listening to the pain of the other. The Palestinian people, some Jews think the Palestinian people don't exist. It's nonsense. The Palestinian people do exist. If they 100 years ago were not a people officially, that's not the question. Now the Palestinian people do exist. But please realize that the Israeli people, the Jews, also exist. Let us start joining a country that we both love. It's the only possibility. We have to start listening to the pain of the other and sharing the country that we both live. I still do believe, after 40 years, that the two-state solution is a possibility. But only, I see people say no, well, let's talk afterwards. Okay, I know that some people don't believe. I still do believe in the possibility. And we have to stop talking only with the people that say that possibility doesn't exist, because then we will never have peace. I want peace. I hope that the majority here in the room also want peace. And we, Women in Favor of Peace of The Hague, are organizing, end of the year, a peace conference in the Peace Palace. I hope you will be there. Thank you.
Is Robert Bosch, So, floor is yours.
Thank you very much for inviting. We are invited in the first place as being critical members of the Dutch Christian Democratic Party. We have an association in the party of members who are concerned.
Nee. Nee, rustig gepraten, omdat ik gaat vertellen.
Ja, maar ik ben aan het talk, so that's better. Yeah, okay, good. Now it's fine. Anyway, so we have this organization who tries to, let's say, influence the politics of the Christian Democratic Party, who used to be the main party in the Netherlands, at the moment not, but we are coming back very strongly, but even so, we are trying to put, since short, I'm a chairman, but Mr. Tilanes here is the secretary. He has done the work, most of the work for the last 50 years. He will, in a few minutes, tell me about the organization, but I will tell something else. As you might know, every Thursday, in front of the Foreign Ministry in the Netherlands, former ambassadors like me, former diplomats, also like me as an ambassador, civil servants, people from the law, I mean lawyers and so on, medical people, a lot of people are standing there, half an hour in a wake, a silent wake, although there's also sometimes a speaker or a short speaker, a prominent speaker, and they stand in front of the ministry, and now comes why? Because in our constitution it says that we have to promote international law. And what we say, what this present government is doing, neglecting this task, because especially with Israel, they are looking away. They are ignoring international law. So what we are trying to say is that, listen here, if you want to make a world a better place, two-state solution doesn't matter, whatever, international law should rule. If you don't have international law, and unfortunately we have a government in the United States who doesn't seem to care. What you said about the new government in Germany, it seems to be also very problematic. But I mean, this is what we have to promote. International law, international law, international law. That's the only way to survive that not the law of the jungle rules. Because that is extremely important, and this is the way. So again, what I see in Germany, I mean, you can, actually it's a question that I'm going to ask. I mean, if this guy would come to Germany, is it not so that you can go to a court and the court can force, because it's of course against the law, what they are doing. You cannot have, they would break the law. So you can go to a court, and then if you want, the police from The Hague can come, it's very close by, and we are very much willing to do that. So anyway, we welcome, of course, Mr. Net, they are very much in The Hague, but then to stay there, Then there is one more thing I would like to stress, and especially again to the German friends, which surprises me extremely much. Mrs. Gelderblom has already mentioned the Smotrich and the Ben Gvir of this world. They are extremists. You cannot be more extremist than they, because without anything they say that actually Palestinians are no people, they are cockroaches and they have to be destroyed. This is what they said. And especially for the Germans, because how Nazi can you talk? This is the worst. I mean, this is a real Nazi talk. And how can you ever say, we do not, we have to support, you can support Israel, but not Israel with the present government. This is of course horrible. It's really horrible, and it's a disgrace for Germany. And really, I don't know, I don't know what I can do. But whatever we can do, we should do, because, as I said, you need to make yourself ridiculous. Then another thing, and that is to Mr. De Reemer, the problem is a little bit, you say we have put a lot of publicity everywhere, but the problem is with the publicity, it's of course a different subject, but the young people, they don't read newspapers anymore, they don't look at the TV anymore, they only look at TikTok and Instagram, and they don't get any information. So also, all of you here, you should use this new media in order to bring your message across, because these people, they don't get anything else, then I don't know what, I mean, very strange things in TikTok and Instagram. So also there is a task to adjust to the unfortunately strange situation in the world. Anyway, I will give the floor not to Mr. Tilanis, but keep up the good work. But I think I've heard now a lot of people here, but I think there's a lot of possibility to cooperate more, because we have all kinds of instances, because we have this in the Netherlands big group also with Jewish people, Israeli people even, coming to our meetings to, you know, to say that they totally disagree with what our government is doing, but especially of course also the government there. So we have to actually cooperate. Maybe we should later on exchange some cards, but I mean there should, because we have been saying, you know, you have also similar organizations in the United States. We try to involve them, seemingly then there are similar organizations as we have. In Germany, we have to do it all together, right? And not that it's only the Dutch, only the Germans, only the Americans or whatever, but we have to go together for the cause of humanity. And I hope these days will bring this cooperation forward. Thank you. I give the floor to Mr. Tilanis.
So now it's just me between you and your lunch. I'm sorry. But thank you for inviting me to share with you some information about the CDA Member Council Middle East, or in Dutch, het Ledenberaad Midden-Oosten. As Robert already told, CDA is the main Christian Democratic Party in the Netherlands. Normally it occupies some 10 to 20% of the seats in parliament, but as mentioned already, it's less at this point. The Member Council is an independent group of members of that CDA. We're not a formal party organization. It has been established by former Prime Minister Dries van Acht. Probably some of you will know him. And in fact, it was a direct result of some very one-sided remarks by the then Prime Minister and Foreign Minister at the end of the Gaza war of 2008-2009. So early 2009, in fact, this council has been established. It's a small organization. The core is less than 10 people committed to fighting for international law, human rights and peace in the Middle East. Beyond that, there is a peripheral group with people that are also interested, but not on a daily basis, but we can call upon them, for instance, if we need support for suggestions on Congress, contributions, etc. The Member Council aims to push CDA towards a more active role in bringing peace and justice to Israel and Palestine. And with that, in fact, to the greater Middle East, since at the moment that there will be peace between Israel and Palestine, we expect that there will be peace in the Middle East, in the broader Middle East as well. And to bring our message across, we base ourselves on the written messages from the party. which are quite often completely different from what we see in from the members of parliament. The party has always been Israel leaning in practice, but if you read what is written in the past, you get a different picture. And it has a long history of being involved. For instance, in the election manifesto of 1977, you mind? 1977, it was written, and I will quote, "A resolution of the Middle East conflict requires that Israel and its Arab neighbors be allowed to exist within secure and recognized borders, that territorial occupations be ended, and that the position of the Palestinians be regulated in a political form." That was 1977. Another basis for our work is a report that was written in 2003. Maybe you remember 2003, there was the so-called Quartet Initiative. UN, US, European Union, and Russia trying to negotiate and mediate for peace. The report mentioned there, and I quote again, "Failure of the Quartet Initiative would undermine the credibility of international diplomacy. Obstruction by one of the parties in the implementation of the roadmap to peace could therefore be subject to sanctions." So that's quite a clear message. Unfortunately, in practice, it was not always that clear. So, with peace really beyond the horizon at the moment, we think we have to do a different thing, and we're trying to push the government at least to improve the daily situation in the occupied territories. Well, discussing issues with the party and with members of parliament of CDA, we noticed there is a very big lack of information. A lot of people are not aware of what's really going on in the occupied territories. So therefore we started a newsletter which is sent out bi-monthly with major events, major developments, both in Israel and Palestine and in the international arena. Issues by the United Nations, statements by the European Union, and all that kind of stuff. So it will be clear that our organization is not focused especially on the Palestinian prisoners. That does not mean that we never give attention to them. In our newsletter we have quite often presented stories about especially the administrative detainees, since in our opinion they're just hostages. Nobody should be detained without indictment and without conviction. And even with indictment and with conviction, you must be able to trust the court that they make a just decision. Thank you very much.